Dana Perino, host of the Daily Briefing here on Fox News. She joins us from New York. All right, Dana, listen, you have more personal connection and networking with the Kavanaughs than most of us do, having worked in Bush 43 White House. How do you think their family must feel after what they've been through to get to this day?
I was thinking about that, possibly completely shattered in terms of exhaustion, relieved, possibly a little euphoria as well, and also maybe quite reflective. I think that one of the things you saw from Brett Kavanaugh when he testified is he talked about his faith. He has a strong faith in the Lord, and that he was relying on that faith in order to help get him through. He also reveres the Constitution, loves the Constitution and the law. And maybe after tonight, I think he's probably already thinking ahead to the cases that will come before the Supreme Court, the major issues that this country has to grapple with when it comes to liberty, when it comes to privacy, all the challenges that the country are facing. I hope that he and his wife and daughters and family can take a moment to celebrate. They have been through a lot. The country has been through a lot. And I think when he wrote the op-ed in the Wall Street Journal that some people love, some people criticize, I think he was trying to signal that the judge that he was for 12 years, where you have the record of over 300 opinions, that is the kind of judge he will be on the Supreme Court. So I think, Shannon, that's probably what is on his mind right now, and possibly also a lot of gratitude for the president who first hired him in the Bush 43 White House and put him on the circuit court, but then the president who stuck by him and nominated him and stuck by him, and that is President Trump, who goes now tonight to Kansas for a rally with a significant campaign promise kept, and also just a unified Republican Party, unlike we have seen in possibly 10 years.
Dana, I want to ask you on a kind of personal level about Brett Kavanaugh, because you did work with him in the Bush 43 White House. And for those of us who've been following him in public on TV, there really have been three Brett Kavanaughs we've seen. First of all, the legal scholar, immensely comfortable discussing judicial decisions, rulings, precedents in his original Judiciary Committee briefing. Then the interview with our colleague Martha McCallum, where he seemed very constrained, very uncomfortable, understandably so, dealing with the charges, and then the kind of Kavanaugh unplugged that we saw in his second Judiciary Committee testimony, when he was very fiery and really took on the Democrats in a very contentious way. Your view, which is the real Brett Kavanaugh?
Well, I think, look, he's a total human, right? He's the full spectrum. He's exceedingly gracious, also an exceeding intellectual. I'll remember one thing, Chris. In 2005, I was a spokesperson for John Roberts. He had just been nominated to replace Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, who, if you'll remember, she resigned, and it was quite a surprise to everyone. But President George W. Bush had a list of possible nominees. John Roberts was the choice, and I remember as a press officer, I was getting so many questions, so many legal questions I couldn't answer. I'll never forget, it was a Friday night about 7:30 p.m. If you've ever waited tables, I felt like I was in the weeds. That means you're just out of control. You have too many requests. You don't know what to do with them. About 7:30 at night on a summer evening, and I went downstairs to the staff secretary's office, and he was still there, as usual. And I knocked on the door, and I said, "I'm sorry to bother you, Brett, but I need some help." And he sat with me for about an hour and 30 minutes and explained to me all of these different cases I was being asked about, one of them being Roe v. Wade and the right to privacy and that connection there, and explaining how this had happened in the Supreme Court over a long period of time. And then you could go out with him at night and have a good time and a laugh. I never saw any bad behavior by Brett Kavanaugh, only an exceedingly gracious person.